sense, being that women are the physical manifestations of this phenomenon, that is why women's value must be preserved. They can't be trusted to handle anything of greater responsibility, anything of greater importance than daily household chores and taking care of babies. Not taking care of children, taking care of babies. Because once babies turn into children, that's when the psychological development comes into place, which far exceeds the capabilities that women are able to provide for the child. But going back to the value preservation, women's value has to be preserved while a man's value has to be created. Women are born with inherent value, men are born with no value, or next to no value. They're born with the potential for value. That's why when you see a young woman who hasn't done anything with her life, nobody's going to look down on her if she doesn't want to go to college or if she doesn't want to work. Nobody's going to think less of her for not wanting to do those things. Whereas they definitely will look down on a young man who doesn't want to go to college and doesn't want to work and doesn't want to improve himself. Since women are born with inherent value, it can't actually be increased in the same way that a man's can. Men's value is based on what they've done and the type of person that they've turned themselves into. What kind of value they've brought into the community in which they're living or into the larger society. But a woman's value is not based on that. The reason a woman has inherent value is because her value is based on her fertility. To put it bluntly, that's what it's based on. Women's value is based on their fertility. That's why it's in the best interest of a woman not to waste her inherent value and try to lock down a high value man or a man who looks like he's on his way to becoming high value as soon as she can. The more experiences a woman goes through, the less value she has as a woman. And it's not just fertility either, it's also based on her ability to stay with a mate. Children are more likely to survive if the father's in the home. Children grow up much healthier and much happier and are much more successful later in life when the father is present. And not just present, but consciously involved in the children's lives. That's why stepfathers don't really do the trick. You can't just inject a male person into a child's life and say, this is your new father now. That's not how psychology works. That's not how human brains work. The child knows it's not their actual father. And before any idiots go, well, I formed a bond with my stepfather, I'm aware that exceptions exist. I would still argue that you're not as close to your stepfather as you would have been to your biological father had you had the chance. But like I said, the more experiences, whether positive or negative, that a woman goes through decreases her value because women cannot handle the stresses or the pleasures of life. The more stress she goes through, the more she sees the world as nothing more than a negative place. And I've mentioned this in a previous video, but it's because women are not able to connect with God in the same way that men are. Women are not able to renew themselves mentally. They see everything on earth through the lens of the material. They see everything on earth through the lens of sensory perception. If something doesn't excite them enough, then it's not a good thing. If something stresses them out too much, then it's also not a good thing. Everything has to be new, everything has to be fresh sensory input they're receiving. That's why girls don't work out. You ever wonder why the vast majority of women don't work out? They're fortunate enough to be born with a nice looking body, and then it just wastes away. They don't work out. They could preserve their body a little bit by working out, but that's why. It's because it hurts. Working out hurts. And since women only interpret the world through sensory perception, anything that hurts is a bad thing. They can't handle it. They literally can't handle working out. That's how strongly this influences their mind. And just as when I was saying earlier, when a woman goes through too many negative experiences, she's not able to renew herself because women are not as connected to God. They're not able to refresh themselves psychologically. They're not able to detach themselves from the material world. And don't let their astrology fool you either. All this crystals, all the chakra, the healing bullshit, there's no such thing as chakras. There's no such thing as crystals, lighting incense. All of that is still sensory. There's no divine presence there. It's still, just because it makes them feel good doesn't mean that there's a divine presence there. They might feel a tiny bit of divine presence because typically when they interact with these things, they're becoming more still in body, and that's how you gain greater contact with God. That's how you connect yourself better with the divine presence. But since they're not able to go all the way, they're satisfied with sensory perception. They think that the crystals are the divine presence. They think that the incense or the astrological signs are the divine presence, when really it's just more sensory perception. That's never, ever, I can't even emphasize how that's never going to happen. It's just not. But back to what I was saying. The woman's lifestyle is to be maintained. That's the priority. Now, the positive implications of this prioritization would be that if the woman has a small child and the dad's a deadbeat, then yeah, we would want to make sure that they're financially set up. But in the vast majority of divorce cases, and just cases dealing with men and women in general, none of those details are taken into consideration. It is only taken into consideration that she is a woman, and due to our feminist culture, she's inherently a victim, and he is a man, which means he's inherently a perpetrator, and he's inherently a bad guy. And so the rewards, the fruits of the man's labor are given to the woman, regardless of the context of the situation. But jumping back to what I was saying, even pleasurable experiences are too much for the woman to handle, because they cannot refresh themselves. They can't see men in a new light. They can't appreciate different aspects of the man. All they see is whoever gives them the most dick, whoever gives them the most exciting experience on the most expensive date, on the more expensive date, he's the one who's gonna take the cake. She will forever look at every other date after that with a sense of pity. You ever notice how girls who've been ran through or just more attractive girls tend to look at men with a sense of resentment or a sense of pity? Or they look at nice guys definitely with a sense of pity as well. It's almost like, oh, it's so cute. Look at him trying so hard. He thinks this is actually impressing me. Look at him trying so hard to impress me. Why is he trying? It's almost like they're confused. They're like, why is he trying so hard to impress me? What have I done to deserve such effort? None of the other guys have ever put in this much effort before. They're confused as to why you would try so hard for them. Even they are not confused about the amount of value they provide. Even they understand that they are ruined. Even they understand that their value has gone out the window. It went out the window with the first 100 guys they slept with. And I do mean 100. You guys don't realize how utterly abundant women's sex options are. Most women's sex options, even for average girls, are through the roof. And it's because of the dynamic. Men are the ones who are supposed to approach the women. Therefore, women are naturally going to have more options. It just makes it seem like that. That's why women's egos are through the roof. That's why the moment they don't get this attention, they go fucking nuts. Because it's been that way their entire lives. That's why women can't acknowledge that they do have it easier in life. That's why women can't acknowledge the privileges they have in life, because it's been a part of their life their entire lives. But don't be fooled. Even they understand that their value is gone. That's why they don't like guys treating them with appreciation. That's why they don't like guys treasuring them. Because they know they're not treasures. They know they're not worthy of that treatment. But they're insane, and they're able to make it seem like they don't want it as bad, and they're able to make it seem like they're just victims and really the men are the perpetrators. Things are much more nuanced and complex than the vast majority of people will ever realize, much less admit to. But I don't want to ramble on for too long. I think I've spoken on this long enough. Smash that like button if you enjoyed. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Make sure to subscribe if you're not already. Click the bell so that you don't miss new uploads. And I will see y'all in the next one. Take care.